It is no doubt that the Pittsburgh Steelers are debatably one of the best teams in the NFL at drafting wide receivers. We've seen this in the past with so many players like Emmanuel Sanders, Antonio Brown. I could say Juju-Smith. Definitely Antonio Brown, because he's probably the best wide receiver to ever play in the NFL. But it's very unfortunate that what Antonio Brown has done has basically ruined his career. But at the same time, like I said, the Pittsburgh Steelers are definitely the best team in the NFL at drafting wide receivers. But what if I were to tell you that they've done it again? And this wide receiver was so under the radar last season that he's going to surprise everybody and probably make a Pro Bowl this year. One aspect of the Pittsburgh Steelers in the last 15 years is that Ben Roethlisberger has been their quarterback. Ben Roethlisberger has consistently brought this team to a winning record every season that he started, having one of the best passing yards in the league some seasons, winning Super Bowls, and eventually will be in the Hall of Fame. And that is why the Pittsburgh Steelers wide receivers have stood out compared to other teams. But at the same time, every wide receiver that they have drafted is still talented without Ben Roethlisberger. But unlike every wide receiver that I've mentioned, Diontae Johnson has never played a full season or close to 2 games with Ben Roethlisberger as his quarterback. And this is why Diontae Johnson was so under the radar last season, because they had a horrible offense and there was basically no talent there to throw the ball to anybody. With Mason Rudolph debatably one of the worst starters that whole season, and Duck Hodges, I don't even know, he's so bad. But with 2 really bad backup quarterbacks, what do you expect wide receivers to do? Not get as many yards as they would from Ben Roethlisberger, of course. And that means that Diontae Johnson flew under the radar of everybody's view last season, giving rise to rookie receivers like A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, and more. But basically, I think Diontae Johnson is more talented than all of those wide receivers, and he's going to prove it this season. But we got to get into the statistics and to see why Diontae Johnson is going to be the next Antonio Brown. So like I've already mentioned, the Pittsburgh Steelers were without Ben Roethlisberger the entire season, besides the first 2 games last year. And as a rookie wide receiver, Diontae Johnson did not take any passes from Ben Roethlisberger because Ben was out the whole season. A rookie doesn't really perform well the first game or 2, so I'm not going to count those games. But we did see Diontae Johnson emerge as that number 1 wide receiver for the team. I think he outcompeted Juju-Smith in my opinion. I don't know what to say that Diontae Johnson is better than Juju right now, but in the future, I believe Diontae Johnson will outcompete Juju for the number 1 wide receiver spot on the Pittsburgh Steelers. But at the same time, I do believe that these 2 wide receivers are different. I believe Juju-Smith is better in the slot. We saw this a couple seasons ago when Antonio Brown was number 1. And you're looking for, the other wide receivers like James Washington, Diontae Johnson, soon to be Chase Claypool, just running down the field. That's where Diontae Johnson specializes in, and I believe Juju, more specializes in that slot receiver spot. Which is why, Chase Claypool is a really good draft pick for the Steelers, and he's definitely going to help Diontae Johnson become a really great player. So I believe that, it takes that 1 season for a wide receiver to just light up, and from there you can say that they're a really good wide receiver. They'll be good for whatever team they play for. And I believe to ignite that flame from Diontae Johnson, it's going to take next season's wide receiver group, tight end group, quarterback. The Steelers offense is built for Diontae Johnson next season. This dude's going to have a breakout year, 1,000+ yard receiving, and he's definitely going to make that Pro Bowl. And this is why. So first, I'd like to compare him to the rest of the rookie wide receivers that he was drafted with. Looking at receiving yards, he was pretty up there with the rest of the rookie receivers. One of the most outstanding performances you can say by a rookie receiver was by A.J. Brown. I believe he was the only rookie to get 1,000+ yards last season. But below that, in second place, I believe came Terry McLaurin for the Washington Redskins, and third, DK Metcalf from the Seattle Seahawks. I believe that Deebo Samuel was in fourth place with 802 receiving yards. And Darius Slayton was in 5th place, 740. And in 6th place was Diontae Johnson with 680 receiving yards. 680 receiving yards with 2 of the worst quarterbacks in the league. That's pretty good. He came in 2nd on the team in receiving yards behind James Washington, which kind of surprises me actually, because I didn't even know that. And he actually had more receiving yards than Juju-Smith. That's pretty good for a 3rd round draft pick and not one of the highest rated wide receivers. Of course, with 2 of the worst quarterbacks in the league, what do you expect to happen with Ben Roethlisberger as his quarterback? You definitely expect a 1,000-yard season, probably lead maybe around the same amount of receiving yards as A.J. Brown next season. We'll see. But did you know that Diontae Johnson actually injured his groin week 2 of the 2019 season, and he played every single game? This dude sucked it up the entire season, played through an injury, and he still had amazing, I could say decent stats for a rookie. And he had surgery in February. He's recovering, probably already has recovered by now, and he's going to be good for the season to start. This dude couldn't even be as explosive as he wanted to, and he still had 680 receiving yards. Like, what? That's pretty good, right? Now, I guess you can say, any player could get 680 receiving yards. They're in the NFL for a reason. And how are you going to compare him to Antonio Brown? Well, one stat that very did surprise me was he actually led all wide receivers, of course rookie wide receivers, with receptions last season. He had 59 receptions, one more than A.J. Brown and Terry McLaurin, I believe. But still, 59 receptions with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph as your QB. What? This dude is a star in the making. You can't deny the simple facts. He's open. And that leads me to the next point. One of the most outstanding, he actually led the wide receivers. He led all wide receivers in the NFL with separation from defender, 3.6 yards away. Like, when you have horrible QBs, I expect with that kind of stat to get 59 receptions, lead all rookie receivers. But when you have Big Ben as your quarterback and you have that many yards of separation from the defender, this dude's going to be an open target, which reminds you of Antonio Brown. This dude's always open. He makes plays to get open. And Diontae Johnson is a special person when it comes to that aspect of the game. I guess you can say that there's a counter argument to the separation. He led all wide receivers in separation because he was so under the radar. Many defenders probably underestimated him and gave him the opportunity to be that open. But at the same time, he still led all wide receivers in the NFL. Like, all wide receivers, the best wide receivers, not the rookies, all wide receivers he led in separation. And that's a very good rate, key aspect to Diontae Johnson's game, which I believe will make him a superstar in the future. Little to remind you, this dude was injured the entire year. Come on now, easy. A little known fact is that Diontae Johnson scored 40% of his entire fantasy points combined in 3 games. I'm guessing one of those games was the Dolphins game, maybe the Cardinals game, but at the same time, that's pretty good. And it shows you how the team's offense last year, I'm not going to lie, it was so bad. Like, it was horrible. I've never seen worse in my life besides, the Browns. 2016, at the same time, a horrible offense. And he still got all those yards in only 3 games, all those fantasy points. If he's like that every game, this dude's going to be explosive. He could be the next Antonio Brown. So like I've mentioned before, since Juju's going to be playing more in the slot because they drafted Chase Claypool, they have the opportunity to do that. Just gives Diontae Johnson more room to get receptions. It gives him a better chance to play out wide. So Juju's in the slot the entire time, so Juju doesn't have to play out wide like he did a lot last year. So it just gives Diontae Johnson the opportunity to get more receptions, to get more yards for the Steelers offense with Big Ben. And the best part about the Steelers offense, in my opinion, is how they picked up Eric Ebron. This makes a scary target in the touchdown, the red zone for the Steelers, because Eric Ebron is a red zone monster. Juju-Smith might be lighting it up. and it just leads Diontae Johnson open. Easy touchdown, easy reception. I'd be scared of this dude, and so should you. So leave down in the comments what you believe about Diontae Johnson. I believe he's going to be a really good breakout star next season. And comparable to Antonio Brown, I think the Steelers drafted a gem. So like I said, like that video, subscribe, leave down what you think about Diontae Johnson. Adios.